Hello again, Year 7. So what we're going to do now is just look at how to tackle this question. How does the poet use language and structure to create a sense of power and control in this poem? As I've said previously, I've used the colour code scheme, the red, amber and the green, and also in the black I've put the further analysis, which will hopefully, if you do it correctly, get you a higher mark. So I'll go for the language paragraph first, which I've done first. I've talked about the language used and how that shows maybe how power and control is established throughout this poem. And then I've also looked at, in the second paragraph, I've looked at structure, and I'll show you the language that you need to use to successfully show that you're talking about structure. Okay, so the first paragraph I've done, sense of power and control is created throughout this poem, as it is clear to see that nature is more powerful and durable than any man that has ever lived, no matter how powerful they once were. The line "sneer of cold command" really suggests to the reader that this man, Ramesses II, had great power when he was alive, and used that to mock everyone who was under his leadership. His ruthlessness and power is really backed up through the alliteration "cold command," to amplify the authority that the ruler of the ancient world would have had at the time. But unlike nature, power does not last forever, and this is clear to see through the structure of the poem. So what I've done there is I've clearly set up what I'm going to say. I'm suggesting that nature is more powerful and durable than any man that's ever lived, so it's more powerful. Okay. Here I've selected a relevant quote from the text, "Sneer of cold command." Okay, that's taken from the poem, which you need to quote word for word to make sure that is correct. So that's a relevant quote, and I've suggested that this suggests that Ramesses, who did have great power, has now lost it. Okay. Just one mistake that I've made, and I'm glad in the way that I've made it so you don't make it yourselves, is look at words possibly that you may have repeated. So for example here I've got "really suggests," "really backed up." Okay, try and think of possibly different synonyms that you could use. Okay, so we could use "certainly suggests." Okay, it just sounds better than always putting "really" for every sentence. So this is talking about language, and I've said his ruthlessness, and power is really backed up through the alliteration "cold command." So as you can see here, this black bit of text is taken from the line "sneer of cold command," and what I've done is taken "cold command" and I've suggested that it's alliteration, because obviously alliteration is a language device where the same sound is consecutive. So we've got the C and the C, the "cold command," and that is done to amplify the authority that the ruler of the ancient world would have had at that time. Okay, so I've used this to form my answer in a better way. I've gone on to explain it in a bit more detail, and as you can see here, look how big my Y is. As I've said previously, the Y would get you more marks hopefully. So that's talking about the language. So we've answered this part of the question. Now we are going to talk about structure. So thinking about structure in terms of English, when I ask people this question, they say maybe structure is a building, which that is correct. If you're thinking about structure in English, structure is basically the way things are set out from start to finish. Do things stay the same? Do they change? And how do they do that? So it's the same format again, the red, amber, the green, the what, how, the why. And I'll read it out to you now, and then again I'll go through what I've done and why I've done it, and hopefully you can do the same at home. So, as the poem progresses, it's clear to see that Ramesses II inevitably lost his power after his death, and nature has ruined part of his legacy by decaying his monuments. The line "colossal wreck, boundless and bare" reinforces the idea that not all power lasts forever. Someone who was once the leader of the ancient world now only has a ruined statue to remember him by. The phrase "colossal wreck" suggests to the reader that nature will wait for no one, even Ramesses II, who had colossal power. The ruler who once had the arrogance to think that his reign would last forever only has broken statues to remember him, showing that power and control isn't unlimited. So I'm always talking about how power in the question isn't unlimited and how power is lost and control is lost, even from the most powerful people in history. First part of the sentence, as the poem progresses, it suggests to us that something is happening, it's moving, it's changing through time. So that would be a nice word to possibly use when you're talking about structure. Okay, how does this poem progress? What changes, what stays the same? It's clear that Ramesses inevitably lost his power. Inevitably. It basically means it's going to happen. You can't change it. So it shows you through time, it shows you structure. Okay, so those two words I've just suggested might be nice to use. So again, I've selected a relevant quote from the text, colossal, wreck, boundless and bare. And I've also further explained it here with colossal wreck. So it reinforces the idea that not all power lasts forever. Okay, power lasts. Okay, again, this word relates to structure. Always think about a single word can make all the difference, and this single word lasts is very important because it's talking about things have changed. Someone who was once the leader. Okay, we're talking in past tense. Okay, he hasn't got his power anymore, which he thought he did at first. The phrase colossal wreck suggests to the reader that nature will wait for no one, even Ramesses II, who had colossal power. So these things have changed, haven't they? At the start of the poem, you may believe that possibly he would have a lot of power. However, after reading it in the modern day, what once was a really powerful figure has not got this power anymore. Okay, so that structure of the poem, how it's structured, really tells us that this power has been lost. The ruler who once had the arrogance to think that his reign would last forever only has broken statues to remember him, showing that power and control isn't unlimited. Okay, so hopefully these two paragraphs have really helped you, and think about what I've done previously as well, the sentence starters and also the key words. If you can include these sentence starters and these keywords, as well as taking on board my colour-coded response, then I really think you will have a really good chance of doing really well with this question. So I'd like a paragraph please on language, and a paragraph on the structure of the poem. How is the poem structured to show that this power has been lost? So remember that your green is really explaining why you've selected this quote, okay, in amber, and remember that the red, the what, is what you're going to talk about. And we are talking about, well, I've spoken about anyway, if you see fit, you could change it. I've spoken about how power has been lost over time. So look back through this, do a little bit of research on what I've said, and then obviously remember that the question, again, the last thing I'll leave you on, is how does the poet use language and structure to create a sense of power and control in this poem? So that is your task for this week. I'll leave it on that bit for you. Hopefully I've helped you, and hopefully I will see a lot of good work when you submit it once you have finished. So good luck year 7, and I will speak to you again shortly. Thank you.